It's July the 23rd, 1983, a brand new 767.
Fuel pressure? Why would that be?
A catastrophic failure at 26,000 feet. They're at the controls of a 95-ton jet that's quickly falling from the sky. Air Canada Flight 143 is just past the halfway mark of its journey from Montreal to Edmonton, Alberta. The plane is carrying 61 passengers and 8 crew members. Rick Dion is an Air Canada maintenance engineer. The captain on this flight is Bob Pearson. He's 48 years old and he's spent more than 15,000 hours in the air. His first officer is Maurice Quintel, who has more than 7,000 hours of flying time.
Come on in. Pardon me, gentlemen.
This is one of 4 767s that Air Canada has recently acquired. The plane itself has only 150 hours on it.
Quite a difference here, huh?
Oh, yeah. Reset on and...
Pilots and maintenance crews are both still getting to know this airliner.
Fuel pressure? Why would that be?
Whoa.
A warning alerts the crew to critically low pressure at one of the plane's fuel pumps. The 767 has 3 main fuel tanks. Electric fuel pumps draw fuel from each tank and feed it to the plane's 2 engines. The low pressure warning could mean that one of the pumps needs maintenance, but it could also be a more serious issue, a lack of fuel to be pumped.
That forward fuel pump. It's just a bloody pump failing, I can tell you that.
Another low fuel pressure warning sounds, this one from another fuel pump on the plane's left side. Pearson's flight management computer tells him he should have plenty of fuel for the remainder of the trip. Captain Pearson knows that if the left tank is running low, the right tank may be low as well.
Let's head for Winnipeg. Now.
Pearson wants to land as soon as possible in case he is running out of fuel. The crew is still more than 700 miles away from their original destination, Edmonton, Alberta. The nearest major airport is Winnipeg, Manitoba, a mere 120 miles away.
Winnipeg Center?
Air Canada 143.
Air Canada 143, go ahead.
Ron Hewitt has 20 years' experience as a radar controller.
Yes, sir, we have a problem.
We're going to requesting direct Winnipeg.
Air Canada 143 cleared.
Pearson now begins to descend from 41,000 feet.
Oh man, you're all going out, eh?
The low pressure warnings are spreading to more and more of the fuel pumps.
Okay. We've lost the left engine.
Losing an engine erases any doubt. Flight 143 is in fact running out of fuel. Pearson is trained to land a 767 with 1 engine. The crew prepares the passengers for the worst.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is your in-charge flight attendant speaking. Due to mechanical problems, we'll be preparing for an emergency landing. Please return to your seats and fasten your seat belts.
What was that? How come I have no instruments?
It's exactly what Pearson had feared. He's lost both engines. At 26,500 feet, still 75 miles from the nearest major airport, he's out of fuel.
Winnipeg, Air Canada 143.
Air Canada 143, go ahead.
Just lost both engines.
In spite of its enormous weight, a 767 doesn't plunge from the sky when it loses its engines. Its aerodynamic properties keep it in the air, but slowly coasting to Earth.
143 just lost their engines.
Flight 143 is somewhere east of Winnipeg, but no one knows exactly where or how far it is from the airport.
143.
We have you at 65 miles from Winnipeg and approximately 45 miles from Gimli.
We might make Winnipeg.
Gimli, Manitoba has a decommissioned Air Force base. It's about 20 miles closer than Winnipeg. About 8,500 feet above the ground, Captain Pearson can see his destination. Winnipeg's airport is less than 35 miles away.
We're visual.
But the news from Quintel is not good. Quintel has calculated that at the rate they're falling, they would hit the ground a full 15 miles short of the runway.
How far are we from Gimli?
You're approximately 12 miles from Gimli right now.
Okay, fine. We're gonna go there.
I'm gonna go check on my family. You guys don't need me up here right now, huh?
No, we're okay. Landing gear down.
Roger.
First Officer Quintel lowers the landing gear. Because there's no hydraulic power, Quintel does what's known as a gravity drop, letting the gear's own weight drop and lock it into place. The two main gear are heavy, they fall immediately, and two green lights confirm they've locked. But the nose gear is lighter, it doesn't lock. 5 miles from Gimli, Pearson and Quintel finally see a runway they can land on. But there's a problem. Pearson is almost at the runway, but he's much too high above it. If he comes down at a normal descent rate, he'll miss the landing strip. But if he comes down steeply, his plane will gather a dangerous amount of speed. He won't be able to stop before the end of the runway. Pearson decides to try a maneuver called a side slip, practically unheard of on commercial airliners, but sometimes used by glider pilots. Pearson turns the yoke left and pushes the rudders to the right. The plane slips to its left. If he can't line up with the runway at Gimli, he doesn't get a second chance. Flight 143 begins to drop towards the Earth. Quintel is about to discover something he did not expect. The runway he trained at 15 years ago is no longer a runway. The Gimli landing strip has been converted into a drag racing strip. Today is Saturday, and it's not just a race day. It's a family day on the Gimli Strip. Captain Bob Pearson is out of fuel, out of engines, out of options. The 767 loses altitude quickly, plowing sideways through the air. As they approach, Pearson focuses on his target, the threshold of the runway. But now, only hundreds of feet from the ground, Quintel sees that their troubles are far from over. Two children have decided to pedal the length of the runway. They don't hear the plane coming for them. Without engines, it's silent. And one thing the 767 doesn't have is a horn.
Brace! Brace for landing!
The front landing gear gives out immediately. Pearson brakes hard. Two tires blow out. The bottom of the right engine scrapes the runway. Finally, Pearson sees what's in their path.
I looked up and I could see two boys on bicycles. They must have been probably about 1,000 feet down the runway. I can still remember the look of terror on their faces. So they were close enough for me to see that.
The kids panic and try to outrun a plane that's traveling about 200 miles an hour. The plane plows into a guardrail installed down the middle of the runway.
Smoke, Bob.
"17 minutes after running out of fuel, Air Canada Flight 143 comes to a final stop on the ground.
Evacuate! Evacuate!
Evacuate!
All right, let's go. We gotta get up.
Thick smoke is quickly filling the cabin. The crew doesn't take any chances. They want everyone off the plane as quickly as possible.
Time to get out of here.
10 people are slightly injured during the evacuation. The flight attendants have good news. All 61 passengers have made it off the plane. There's not so much as a single serious injury. The event makes international headlines immediately. People are already asking how one of the most sophisticated passenger planes in the world could have run out of fuel.
Sliding down emergency chutes.
By the next day, the investigation has already begun. Flight 143 took off without enough fuel. Pilots need to know the weight of the fuel on their plane. But fuel trucks pump jet fuel by volume. In order for pilots and fuelers to communicate, a simple routine translation between volume and weight has to be made. Flight 143 needed 22,300 kilograms of fuel for the trip. But pilots and technicians let it leave with 22,300 pounds instead. Because a pound is about half a kilogram, the plane only got half the fuel it required. It took a string of mechanical and human failures for Flight 143 to run out of fuel. First Officer Maurice Quintel was promoted to captain in 1989. Captain Bob Pearson went on to fly 10 more years for Air Canada, his experience at Gimli shaping the rest of his career as a commercial pilot. 2 days after the landing at Gimli, Air Canada's 767 was back in the air on its way to Winnipeg for repairs. A quarter century later, that same plane is still in service, and it still carries the nickname that Bob Pearson earned it, the Gimli Glider.